We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. Get off his fucking neck. Love that makes you know he can't fucking breathe. Love that makes you know we are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, you're tuned into the realest motherfuckers in MMA journalism. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. I, of course, am your host, Meter. The Meter does many things if you're nasty. Today, as like most days, I've got my cohort over here, Slow Big 420, with me to break down and get into all the shit-talking shenanigans, the fight announcements, and fuckery that has fallen out of the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. So before we get into everything, first and foremost, how you doing over there, brother?
Definitely doing a little bit better. Hope you're doing all right too. Glad to fucking be here. Sorry I missed last week.
All good. Life happens, brother. Life happens.
Definitely gonna stay awake through this one. So glad we get to talk some shit because the fights are gonna suck ass this weekend. But we'll do our best to polish up some shit.
That's right. I never make any promises that the fights will be great, but our analysis of them may turn out to be better than the fights themselves. That being said, kick things off around here as we like to do. First and foremost, we're going to start off with a little bit of news and recent events, fight cancellations, fight confirmations, rumors that have become fact or vice versa, just relevant information in the combat sports world that you need to be aware of, in my opinion. So kicking things off right at the top here, as of yesterday afternoon, Javid Basharat is officially out this weekend and stepping in on just a few days' notice like a badass. Christopher Gutierrez and Kang Lee will now fight Saturday. We'll talk more about that fight a little bit more on the back end of the show as we get into this Saturday's card, but just wanted to make sure that both of those gentlemen, Kang Lee and Christopher Gutierrez, both get their props for being short notice badasses. Hopefully the fight turns out to be good and it doesn't end up making us regret taking a short notice fight instead of scrapping the whole thing here, but we'll find out that as we get closer to Saturday. That being said here, a couple weeks from now's news, Don Madge is officially out for undisclosed reasons, which means that Neiman Gracie now gets plugged back into the PFL playoffs against Magomed Ultimov, on August 23rd. That is, I believe, the seventh, either the sixth or the seventh match in the PFL playoffs this year that has had a substitution get thrown in. And the ironic bit with Neiman Gracie is that he was actually scheduled to fight on that card on the 23rd anyway, to fight for a place to be an alternate in case someone drops out of the finals of the playoffs here. So he just actually got bumped from possible alternate to right back in the goddamn playoffs because Don Madge got hurt. So I shouldn't say got hurt. We're assuming Don Madge got hurt. It's still undisclosed officially here, but either way, Neiman Gracie's back in, so we'll see how he does over there. A couple of news here on the UFC side of things here. The following day after that PFL card, August 24th, will be UFC Vegas 96, and we got our headliner announced this week, Jared Cannonier versus Chao Barallo. We kind of talked about this a little bit in our side chat here. This pretty much, in a lot of our opinions, is the rubber stamp on the fact that Jared Cannonier is never getting back to title contention. You have seen for a while there, even though some of us don't agree with it, Barallo is getting the rockets strapped to him, and they are trying to send him right to the top as quickly as they possibly fucking can. And we've talked about it several times before. Jared Cannonier, Brad Tavares, guys like that, Blonde Brunson, are literal title contention stepping stones. When you get past either one or more than one of those three gentlemen, it almost guarantees you in today's day and age a shot at the title. This could be Barallo's chance to knock off Cannonier, get himself up into that fucking title contention, make things real interesting up at the top. So we'll see how that one plays out as we get a little closer to the end of August. That being said, moving over into September, as is the case this week, the theme for the season, I guess, Calvin Kattar is out unofficially, officially undisclosed reasons, no official reason given, but Calvin Kattar is out for the September 7th fight. Now we have Steve Garcia taking on Kyle Nelson on UFC Vegas 97 in September. Not sure how I feel about that one. I think that's another one that probably would have benefited from just scrapping that and making two completely different fights here, but we'll see how that plays out as we get a little closer to that. We all kind of knew. They've been not subtle about it, to say the very least, but it is now officially official. As of this evening, UFC 307 is officially October 5th in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's not a secret. The UFC is getting really bad at keeping these locations under wraps lately, and we all kind of knew that this was going to be a thing. We knew that this was going to be a thing before that we knew 306 was going to be at the Sphere. So, now at least we know it is officially official, and they can start technically building towards the official pay-per-view card. So hopefully they do that card right. That being said here, I have to correct myself because last week I made a fuck up. Excuse me. In doing my notes last week, I misread a pair of names here looking at two different stories, and apparently I transposed the names when I was actually writing out my notes. So I do have to correct myself here. UFC Vegas 98, which will be October 12th. The main event is not Brendan Moreno. I read that one, or I was reading a story about Brandon Moreno while I was reading that story as well. Brandon Moreno is not headlining the UFC Vegas 98 card. Brandon Royval will be headlining that card, taking on Tatsuro Taira as the main event. Raw Dog definitely deserves his shine there, and that was my fuck up for trying to do too much at one time last week. But I almost think this is a more interesting fight. I was down to see Moreno versus Taira, but I almost think that Royval versus Taira is going to give us a more exciting matchup than the other one could have. Both Brandons are badass, but I've been saying it for a long fucking time. I think that Royval is the better of the two Brandons here, despite how it came out when they actually got the chance to wrap things around. So we'll see how that one plays out. I'm pretty stoked for that fucking main event. One of the largest pieces of combat sports news of this year, at least, came out this week. It was a rumor. We talked about it when we heard from the horse themselves that it was a possibility. Well, it is no longer a possibility. It is officially official. As of October 19th, PFL will be holding a champions card to be headlined. A champions pay-per-view card. I should be very clear about that. A champions pay-per-view card to be headlined with the co-main event being Chris Cyborg versus Larissa Pacheco, the fight that has been long overdue. And the main event, the return to MMA from the lineal champion himself, Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferrar. This is the fight that a lot of people had been talking about, rumors swirling around, and then not that long ago, we heard straight from Ngannou himself that that was the fight that the PFL was trying to make. He just didn't have a date set at that time. Well, we got one set now. We're going to see Francis Ngannou return to MMA in October. So I know the world is pretty much going to be watching. I am damn sure going to be paying attention because that's a big one. And Renan is a big motherfucker with big hands too. He might actually be a little bit bigger than Francis Ngannou. People don't realize that because they don't necessarily know Renan Ferrar's fucking resume, which is a travesty unto itself. But I promise you, we will talk more about that fight as we get closer to October. UFC 308 will be in Abu Dhabi October 26th to round out the month here, and we have got a couple of interesting fight announcements added to that card this week here. The first one, Bruno Ferreira, the Hulk, stepping in against Abu Smagomedov. They are both definitely on the fast track to get up there. Abus is doing good ever since he lost that ass whooping to Strickland. Ferreira has just been hulking his way through the fucking division, so that's going to be a fun matchup. Completely understand how they put that one in Abu Dhabi. But the big one here, the big news that we got this week about UFC 308 is we got the headliners for UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. The co-main event, to the surprise of no one, was the rebooking of a 5-round co-main event in Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev, assuming that Chimaev can make it this time. But the main event is the big one. It is official now. Ilia Topuria will defend his 145-pound belt against Max Holloway. The only thing I will say, as much as I don't want to hear it, we still actually do need to hear it. They have not officially announced if Max Holloway's BMF belt is going to be on the line here. I know that a lot of people want it, but I, for one, do not want the BMF belt and the actual division championship belt on the line in the same fight, because if that happens, they will never be able to separate them again. If the BMF belt is going to separate belt, if for some reason either Max has both or Ilya both after at 307, the BMF belt loses all its credibility. The flare in the 15 minutes is over. Oh, internet connection stable. What? Looks like we got a little skipping on the screen. I think our internet just hiccuped here. I believe we should be back. I think I'm watching TV. Yes, I think we're back down. Internet just hiccuped for some reason there. That was fucking weird. But yeah, Ilya versus Max is official. Just a few more here. Kind of important for both gentlemen, more so for one than the other, but a big deal here. UFC 309, November 16th, presumably at MSG, because that's where it always is. Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Very well could be Weidman's last fight, because even if he wins against Anders and he looks spectacular, that fight's not getting him a title shot, and he does not have that many more fights left in him. Excuse me. Anders is also, one big loss from catching walking papers, as he has been for quite a while now. So Weidman could actually do the double deed here, get a big win, send Anders off with walking papers, and retire off into the sunset on a fucking win, looking like a cowboy hero. We'll see how we, get a little closer to November, how both of those gentlemen look, but there is a possibility. To the surprise of absolutely no one who has been paying attention for any significant period of time, ESPN has let me rephrase that. Disney has officially announced that ESPN Plus will officially be getting another price hike in October. ESPN Plus, the service just by itself, will be going up another $1 a month. The entire package bundle that they offer with Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus and all that other shit will be going up $6 a month starting October. So if you are subscribed to ESPN Plus, Hulu, any of that shit, get ready to get charged more again. And that's not counting if this actual mega bundle super stream actually gets put together and launched in the beginning of 2025, like Fox and ESPN and everyone says they're going to. That's essentially going to rip that bundle to pieces and throw it out the window. And then you're going to be looking at paying, I believe let's see, what did they say it was? I think it was $70. Where'd it go? It's right here. No, $43 a month for the super bundle. So it's going to get interesting real quick here, because the prices are not going down, but the quality seems to be. ESPN Plus is just really, really gotten bad. Like, I can attest firsthand that I have seen pirate streams cleaner been for quite some time now. It's going to be interesting to see that potentially the super bundle, when they're still dealing with basic broadcasting issues that, even fucking Shamrock and Synergy FC don't have the issues with. They can get their broadcasts out and then put them on UFC Fight Pass, ironically, with no hiccups. But ESPN Plus, watching actual UFC on the official broadcast stream, can't get their shit together. And now they're once again asking for more money. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Last couple I've got here. I think it's ironic that they announced this in the same week that they announced Ilya versus Max being official, but Ilya Toporia's brother, Alexandre, has officially signed with the UFC. He is a bantamweight. He will be in the 135-pound division, but we will now have another situation where we have a set of brothers competing in combat sports organizations. We say it all the goddamn time. I don't care how good they both look elsewhere. When they get to the big show, there is rarely ever a case where multiple siblings are on equal length. There is almost always one that is better than the other, and sometimes which one it is can turn out to surprise you. Pettis brothers. Sorry, something in my throat there. But this is, I am promising you, going to be one of those situations here. Ilya might be the star now, but if Alexandre shows up and does more work down at 135, he will absolutely steal that thunder and send Ilya back into the fucking albums of history books. I'm kind of curious to see how it works out. Very interested. Last one I've got here for this week. It almost aggravates me to have to talk about it, but it deserves to be talked about because it's not getting a lot of coverage, and I think it should be. After the big win at 304, Tom Aspinall basically said John Jones might have the belt, but he is the best heavyweight in the world. And the people pretty much unanimously agree with that. Jones might be sitting on the belt, but he is not and may have never been the best heavyweight in the UFC. I do absolutely believe that that is Tom Aspinall. But after this last weekend's fights, John Jones, in typical John Jones fucking fashion, took to Twitter, X now, I guess, and X'd, I guess is what you call it since it's not Twitter anymore. He X'd a message out that said, if there's interest in me fighting Tom Aspinall, call or text this number and let me know your thoughts. Turns out that was Bilal's fucking phone number. John Jones, being the typical John Jones asshole that he is, tweeted out Bilal Muhammad's phone number as a prank to try and get people to mass contact that number to get, quote unquote, his fight. Just fucking John Jones, man. Typical John Jones being John Jones. But that's what I've got for news. You got anything over there I missed this week, brother?
The only thing that I thought was interesting was the kid in the bantamweight division that slipped kind of into it. Ramon Tavares survived a drive-by shooting and shit.
Yes, that whole
I
situation.
thought it was at least cool that he's cool. You know, he's all good.
Yeah, the fact that he came out of it okay is absolutely the best part of it, especially if you watch that video and you see, I think it's his daughter and his girlfriend come walking out of the fucking house as gunshots are actively being fired at them, trying to see what's going on. Like, those people need much, much better situational awareness, because that's literally how you get killed in the hood, when gunshots pop off if you look for them. But no, definitely glad that everyone came out good in that situation for sure. That being said, that will bring us to the point here where in most podcasts you're getting some stupid fucking B-roll ad for some product that has nothing to do with the fucking show, and no one on the show actually even knows the fucking company, and we don't play like that around here. The I'm No Joe podcast is brought to you by viewers like you. We are 100% crowd funded here. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. For as little as $1 a month, you help us do what we do. We put your name at the end of every broadcast on this channel. Let everyone know how much of a badass you are in supporting us, as well as giving you access to the unaired and literally unairable content that we have from behind the scenes here, the fuckery that may or may not have gotten us kicked off of OnlyFans, but just things that we only keep for the folks that support us, because we appreciate you supporting us and helping us do what we do. That being said, though, this segment of the show here is kind of important because some of us have been watching MMA and combat sports in general for a long time. And if you've been watching combat sports for a long time, you start to inadvertently develop a set of blinders. You learn what you like to watch, when it comes on, and how to find it. And then everything else just kind of fades into the background. You start to lose the forest for the tree, if you will. Luckily for us here on the show, though, we have ourselves a bona fide young person who vigilantly stays out there just ever so delicately fingering the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they're even names, in a little segment that we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So, like I always do, you got to start with the fucking trash. You know, you got to do the chores before you can have some fun. And there's quite a bit of it. I mean, you could throw the card. Like Golf T would say, if the brother was here with us, he would throw the entire card, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy me actually saying that for us. The whole thing's a pile of dog shit. Can't really say it's a hangover, because last week was actually disappointing compared to what we thought it could have been. Yeah, it's rough, man. 2024 it's been a shit year in general. Horrible matchmaking by the UFC. Just literally not giving a damn at all. Yeah, it's rough. Like you were talking about earlier, the ridiculous prices of ESPN Plus, the horrible streams. You throw everything UFC wise in the trash at this point, but we're still fans of fights. Like Brother Meter says, he's a crazy bastard, literally watches every fucking fight in all existence. I'll be watching the Francis Ngannou one. I like watching a lot of extra fights with you, but I don't get all of them like you do. But you can throw a lot in the trash, but main event specifically, man, like Tybura and Spivak, this is not a main event fight. Whether this is an Apex card or not, nobody wants to see this. this is literally two grappling heavyweights. There's going to be two almost 300-pound grown ass men trying to get each other on the ground to hump each other to victory. And I am not here to see that. Nobody's here to see 25 minutes of that because it's a fucking main event in 5 rounds of almost 300-pound men while we're slap fighting or humping the shit out of each other. You gotta hope Tybura gets a finish because I do think he's the better grappler. But good lord, this is not, like I mentioned, awful matchmaking. Gianna Santos, Chelsea Chandler, another fight on the fucking main card. What the fuck we doing here? What is this shit? I can't stand Chelsea Chandler. I think this fight's gonna be awful in all honesty. Jernio Aaron's, I mean, the kid's still young, but I feel like you'd throw him in the can at this point. He has not looked good since he's gotten into the UFC and fighting Yusuf Zalal. Like that kid, I thought had potential before the UFC cut him. I still thought he had potential, even though he had that rough skid. Worked his way back, looked fantastic against Billy Q. So I'm excited to see what that kid does with his second fucking chance. I think he's gonna really just walk through Aaron's. This is for sure an easy one. He did what he did to fucking Billy. What? It wasn't earlier. I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year. I think it was earlier this year. But yeah, things are always gonna look great. He's one of my contenders that I've got just because, like I said, I'm excited to see what he does with a second chance. Thought he had potential, even though he had that rough skid to get cut. Carl Williams, man, like I like the young kid Jonta Denise. Like I'm excited to see what he continues to do after having an exciting debut. Carl Williams, though, even though the dude's 10-1, like I talk about the main event, we don't need that in heavyweight. It's completely fine to mix martial arts, right? We like that. It's not necessarily our 300-pound guys. We want to see those dudes blasting each other's heads off. Like that's what that division's always been. Like that's what it's meant for. But I also got the Carol Rosa and Panny Kianzad fight. Just all the ladies' fights that we've been getting this year are rough as well. Hearing the rumors that they're trying to put the Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena fight on the Salt Lake City card. Like, there's nothing confirmed with it. It's just rumors so far, and I hope to God they don't try to do that for a main event. Like, it's a horrible decision as a company. Try to convince some people to pay $80. Like, if you actually want anybody to not pirate, pay $80, can't do that as many. It's been rough. But you got to throw all that in the trash. I don't really have a contender this week. I don't feel like maybe you could put Yusuf Zalal there. Then maybe Golf T would probably do that because he likes my idea. Like maybe he agrees. I doubt it. He'd probably still say, "Oh, no, shit." I always got to give him a little bit of shit. Brother's very pessimistic, but maybe he'd throw him the contender spot more so than the contender. But to me, like I said, Jonathan Denise and Yusuf Zalal, I'm looking forward to. I did have Rafael Filho, that young flyweight. I thought that was going to be an exciting fight. We lost that one. That was kind of sad. But I do have Danny Barlow and Chepe Mariscal. Those two dudes got some serious fucking knockout power that have been exciting since they got in the UFC. Chepe even more so than Danny Barlow, but I like Danny Barlow, the Southern guy. Fucking at least appreciates God. He seems like a little bit full of himself, but the dudes look good as a fighter so far. Praises God, praises his family, so it's been okay so far. We'll see what he continues to do. He's fighting a tough young kid from Kazakhstan getting to make his debut, so I'm excited for that fight. The UFC put it in the co-main event for a reason. I think that one's going to be exciting. Golf T's not here to talk about how the card's too shit. So let's see what you got, brother. I know we could say the whole thing's crap, but what do you got for your contenders?
Yeah, this is one of those cards that, to steal a phrase from Golf Tee, you wouldn't hurt for missing. This is one of those cards that if you were doing something Saturday afternoon and then looked at your watch and went, "Oh shit, it's 10:30 p.m." you wouldn't be worse for wear. There's really genuinely not a lot of great fights on this card. This is what we like to refer to as a contractual obligation night. This isn't even a hangover card. This is just fights that have to be made for legal contractual obligation reasons, and they have to put those fights somewhere. That's pretty much what this whole card is. And as a great example, this card originally had 17 fights on it. When they originally booked this card, as of like 2 weeks ago, this card still had 16 fights on it. As of 3 days ago, we are now down to 10 fights total on this card. And they're still going to go ahead and proceed with it. They're not even trying to put more fights on it. They have said they're going to proceed as is. They don't even care enough to try and put more bullshit fights on this card. So that should tell you something unto itself, that even the UFC doesn't even really care about this card, and they're not being shy about that fact. That being said, there are a couple on here that I am very interested. I agree with the vast majority of what you said. The main event is fucking bullshit. It doesn't need to be a rematch, A, and it sure the fuck doesn't need to be a main event. B, we don't need that fight, period, let alone main eventing a fucking card like this. Just all sorts of bullshit all over the main event for damn sure. Chelsea Chandler, I don't know why she's still in the fucking UFC. Same with Yana Santos. This is another great example. Neither one of these ladies deserve to be in the UFC anymore, and they have proven that themselves. This is not just me being a petty asshole. This is both of these ladies literally going out and putting on dog shit performance after dog shit performance, loss after horrible fucking loss in both situations. And now they're going to let the two of them fight each other in a horrible fucking matchup no one asked for? No fucking thank you. This fight has zero fucking merit. There is the tiniest, and I mean ever so tiniest bit of interest for me in, try and say this correctly because Longo went out of his way to say it correctly. Charalampos Gregorio, one of the Longo Serra prospects, making a short notice debut, taking on Tashiyomi Kazama, another very exciting Japanese prospect. There's potential. It's two relative unknowns. It's 235-pound guys. There's a debut on the line here. This has the potential to be a possible fun fight. Maybe fight of the night, given the lineup that we're looking at here. This has probably realistically the most excitement for me of anything on the card. Could be the unknown factor. Who knows? But this one legitimately has the most interest for me. That being said, Stephanie Luciano versus Tailita Alankar is a little interesting here. It's the best of the ladies' fights on this card, hands down. But of the ladies' fights that we have seen recently, it is one of the better fights as well. Both young prospects, both are still working their way through, but both are still very potential heavy. They have both shown moments of greatness in the little bit we've seen from them. And given the other two ladies' fights on this card, that's the one I'd rather pay attention to for damn sure. That being said, I agree 100%. The Danny Barlow fight versus this fucking young killer coming up is, in my opinion, the fight to take fight of the night away from. Like that's got the most potential for me out of anything. Gregorio could come up and if their fight is exciting, could be a runner-up for it. Props to Gutierrez versus Kang Lee for the last minute shit again. Where I do disagree though, Chepe Mariscal, the most overplayed highlight I've seen anywhere this week of anything involving this card has been Chepe Mariscal's shoulder injury winning decision in that fight. And yes, technically that is a win, but he won because the other dude's shoulder landed sideways and popped out of place against the mat, and you could hear it when he landed. Yes, a win is technically a win, but that's no better than Dustin Poirier saying that he broke Conor McGregor's leg when everyone's seen the video and his ankle folds like a fucking lawn chair. Dustin didn't do that. Chepe did not hurt Homeboy's shoulder. Yes, he got the W, and I will give credit where credit is due. He slammed that motherfucker hard enough to thump his fucking shoulder. But you can't say that you got that win when it was a technical fucking injury stoppage. That's the highlight that everyone is going with, and I can't get behind that. Dude might have all the potential in the world, but he's also fighting the guy that we love to refer to as the roofer that doesn't come back from lunch on Fridays when he's got his paycheck. Damon Jackson might be one of the best human beings in the UFC, but in terms of fight prowess, fucking yawn. Fucking yawn. Like I said, Damon Jackson outside of the cage, fucking tacular human being, and I will do whatever I can to fucking support him. But in that cage, he has been hard to root for since he was still in Bellator, man. Since he had his other PFL run, Damon Jackson has bounced all over major organizations for good reason. He's not 23-6 because he's the best fighter in the division. I like him. He's a good guy. But man, this is the UFC giving Chepe a softball here because the last fight ended in injury, in my opinion here. If he gets a highlight reel against Damon Jackson, I'll have a different opinion come next week. As of right now, though, I got my fucking skeptical shades on looking at Chepe for goddamn sure.
I only like the kid because he's running through a bunch of other what I would consider slight contenders. You know, he went through Trevor Peak, Jack Jenkins, and then that Morgan Charrier kid. So even though, yeah, that one fight was an injury, just you go through contenders yourself. In my eyes, I'm gonna look at you as a contender. You're right. Now he's got a guy that's not really been the greatest for a while, but he is a veteran now instead of a younger.
He put the highlight reel up on Damon. He gives Damon Jackson a highlight reel finish. I'll have a different opinion. As of right now, bragging and boasting and promoting yourself off that fucking shoulder thump. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's still probably got a few fights before he sees rankings, but you just, I feel like the kid's just going out there and throwing down. I like seeing that. We've had a lot of just what do you call it? Safe fights from people lately. Like even last weekend, the fights we thought were going to be good. It's just like, what the hell? The dudes were so tentative, like Cheeto and Figgy. The fight wasn't bad, but it was nothing like what I thought we were going to get from that fight.
It was the Abu Dhabi Mokaev and Cop. Like, there was heat coming in. You thought those two were going to.
And that's just how I feel about Cheeto in general lately. He talks the most shit, and he just doesn't show up. Like even in the fights that he won big, it's like he slow rolls the whole damn thing and just got the lucky shot on Frankie Edgar and Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, no, I fucking
the
love
one
Cheeto.
Good performance he's had in the past handful of years was Rob Font. Like he whooped Rob Font's ass. But that's about it.
Font. Yes, he did. Yes, he did for sure. No, I agree. I love me some fucking Cheeto, but he's definitely had a rough fucking go of things, to put it mildly, for sure. But that's what I got for picks for this week.
Appreciate you, bro.
So, that being said, we are going to run down the combat sports menu for the weekend real quick here, because I keep forgetting until the end of the goddamn show, even though I remind myself every fucking week. So we're going to do that now before I completely forget. So, as is often the case, fights this weekend are more than just a UFC, obviously, and that's why I make a point to do this little segment here. But we do start this weekend the way that we start a lot of weekends here. First fucking thing tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Combat Sports and Coffee kicking off. 1 Friday fights, 74 because they're on the other side of the world, coming from Thailand. First thing in the morning, 2 MMA fights, 10 Muay Thai fights, and 4-ounce fucking Combat Sports gloves. Fun shit. Not a lot of names that the average folks are going to know, but kicky punchy with your breakfast. You can't go wrong. Tomorrow evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central Standard Time. The long-awaited return Invicta 56 kicks off. Jennifer Maia, formerly title challenger in the UFC, main eventing this card, all ladies in Invicta, and I fucking love it. This is their first card of the year because they had some legal issues they were getting straightened out contract wise earlier in the year, but they are officially back into action with this card live from Denver tomorrow night. I'm fucking stoked for it. Saturday, kicking off 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Standard. UFC Vegas 95, Tybura versus Spivak 2. Like we mentioned, not the greatest card in the world. If you got other shit going on Saturday afternoon, don't cry if you miss a couple fights. There's not a whole lot of excitement to be had. But to be fair, even though I know absolutely dick about anyone on the fucking card, top to bottom, several of the folks that I know who do are very excited about the final card of the weekend, Saturday evening's big Golden Boy Promotions boxing card, kicking off at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Bahachuk, I believe is how he pronounces his name, versus Ortiz. Like I said, I'm not even going to pretend that I know shit about anyone or anything going on with this card, but several of the folks that I know who do pay attention to boxing say that there are several fights on this card that could be very big and will be very important going forward, including 2 belts on the line, ladies and men, to top the card off. So punchy kicky to round out your Saturday. That being said, this is the point in the show where normally Golf Tea would be here and he's not, so we're going to do it my way. Either way, it's the only part of the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology.com does offer you the option to go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups on there. So we did. We made one called I'm No Bookie, all one word, or group 965, however you need to search it. The group is open to the public. You are more than encouraged. You are welcome to make yourself an account, join the group, and then let us know who you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that this week is getting called Tapology with Meter. Thank you, Meter. You're welcome. So, start things off this week. We are going to run down last weekend's picks because Abu Dhabi, like Christian mentioned earlier, did not necessarily turn out the way that I think any of us anticipated it was going to. That being said, the worst person in our group still got 7 out of 13 predictions correct. So even the worst in our group was still above 500. Everybody in the group was well above 500 this week. So always fucking happy when the group stays above a fucking coin flip, because that means we at least know a little bit about what the fuck we're talking about here. That being said, the big winner this last weekend from Abu Dhabi, Thin Dog the Booty Hog, with 9 of 13 correct, 4 decisions, 1 perfect, 1 semi-perfect, 615 fucking points, just ever so slightly edged out his other half here. Slowbake just behind him at 605 with 10 of 13 correct, but only 3 decisions, no perfects, and 2 semis. So literally a 10-point difference separated the two brothers this week. Vin Dog the Booty Hog coming out on top, ever so close. Donna just behind him, 525. I was just behind Donna at 515. Don. Having a good week. 7 of 13 for 450. And it would have been the worst. It would have been the worst. So I should say that one person in the group did below 500. But that person that stepped on their dick this week and did below 500 was Golf Tea, because he forgot to turn his fucking picks in last week. Got absolutely fucking demolished. Missed them all because you can't hit a swing, or excuse me, you can't hit a pitch you don't swing at. Happens to the best of us. Has happened recently to several of us. It happens. Just sucks when there's a card like this where we all clearly had a pretty good idea of how that was going to play out, as indicated by Don having 7 of 13 correct, being the lowest scoring member of someone that turned in the card for the week. Not bad at all. That being said, let's talk about some odds real quick. On this card, there are not a lot of great fights, so clearly there are not going to be a lot of great odds. There are 2 fights with big odds that I'm going to cover here real quick, and then the main and co-main, because that's how we do it when the cards suck. But because MGM does not like me on any device I try to go to, so I can't get the same odds that Golf Tee uses. And DraftKings is sponsoring more than a few of the shows that I don't particularly care for. I'm not giving them the shine this week either. This week, I am looking at FanDuel Sportsbook odds. And I have to say, I looked at several others just to give them a quick comparison. They're pretty right the fuck on with everything else that I have seen, but that's where I'm bringing sports betting numbers from this week. So the first fight that we're going to talk about in terms of big numbers, it's not even really big numbers. It's the biggest not dead even coin flip, and that is unfortunately Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler. They have Santos as the minus 150 favorite to Chandler as the plus 122 underdog. We already said that fight sucks. That's the biggest odds you've got for it. That's rough. That being said, the biggest odds on the card overall are one of the fights that we did talk about just a little while ago here. Danny Barlow versus Nikolay Veretennikov, I believe is how he pronounces his name. They have got Danny Barlow as the minus 430 favorite here, with Nikolai as the plus 320 underdog. I agree. I think Barlow is the favorite here, but man, those are some fucking odds. So in the situation where an underdog pays off this week, that's the spot that you're going to be able to find to make your money. If Nikolai can pull the upset off against Barlow, that's going to pay out a lot of fucking big ones, and it's probably going to fuck up a lot of people's parlays as well. That being said, co-main event, Damon Jackson versus Chepe Mariscal. They have got Jackson as the plus 186 underdog, with Mariscal as the minus 235 favorite. There's a reason we mentioned that this is pretty much set up for Chepe to come in and get another potential highlight reel here, and it seems like Vegas agrees with that as well. Main event, Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivak. FanDuel is showing Tybura as the underdog at plus 136, but they've only got Spivak as the favorite in this rematch at minus 168. Even Vegas thinks that this rematch could be a fucking coin flip and won't give big odds to either side here. So that should tell you something, in my opinion. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of fights on this weekend, but there's not a lot that you're going to be real mad if you miss. Not to mention, if you do need the highlights, keep it posted here for the I'm No Joe YouTube channel. They have changed the way things are sorted now. When you come to the channel, there is a separate tab at the top that says shorts. Anytime there is, excuse me, anytime there is a big finish in one of these fights over the course of the weekend, because like Slowbake mentioned, I watch all the goddamn fights, all of the fights. So if there is a big finish worth knowing about this weekend, I will make some sort of a quick little highlight reel video showing at least a picture of it, depending on which organization it is and how copyright happy they are. And then I will tell you what happened and give you a quick little highlight so you don't have to watch the whole shit or sit through ESPN Plus for 9 hours for a 20-second clip. I got you covered here. One of the many services we provide here on the I'm No Joe podcast. That being said, though, that is what we have got for this week's show. I told you there is not a whole lot going on, so we are not going to waste your time. That is what we've got for this week's episode. So remember, when we wrap things up around here, that is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning and pretty much every Friday morning, that fellow over there and his other half are going to kick out their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links to their podcast as well as their social medias and their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, all down below. So make sure you go check that out as well.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun never fucking stops after Friday. Once we get through this podcast, we get through my podcast, you swing back around to the best day of the week, fucking hump day. He'll be back next week. TJ, his fucking channel, Golf Tee Vapes. You got to tune in to Foggy Fairway. Around the same time we do this show every Thursday night, every Wednesday night, about 9:30. Tune in, learn some shit about some vapes, learn some cool mixes, some recipes, just chill and have a good time. Make sure you just show the brother some love, and all of his shit should be down in the description as well. And then, of course, you also got the meter. You know, if you don't fucking know, Meter does many fucking things. So you gotta fucking check out all the things that the meter does, you know. You gotta support both of the brothers. Check all their shit out.
Much appreciated. Yeah, all of my links. If you're crazy enough to follow any of my shit, I've got pair of links down below. Linktree, Meter does many things, takes you to everything that I got up to, and there's plenty there to keep you occupied. But there's also Linktree / I'm No Joe, and that takes you to everything affiliated with this podcast, the videos, the audios, the Patreon, the gaming shit that we get up to around here. Sometimes all the fucker can be found down below. Make sure you check out everybody, give everybody some fucking love, because everybody involved in this show is a badass, or they wouldn't be involved in this fucking show. That being said, if you are a badass and you like what we get up to around here, please make sure you give us a thumbs up. You are subscribed and you turn your notifications on whatever platform you are picking this up on, because we do this show pretty much every Thursday that there are fights to talk about the following weekend. We do it live Thursday nights, 9:30-ish Central Standard Time here on youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe. If you can't or don't get the option to catch us, don't fret. I also own a mirror, so I know what this looks like. And we also released a podcast a week later in all audio format over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can get it to your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Spotify, Apple. We are everywhere through there. You want to help out? Patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, you help us do what we do. You get your name on the end because you're a fucking badass. We appreciate you. The other side of that coin, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give us a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that is all we have got for this particular episode. So thank you to everyone who did tune in. And remember, boys and girls, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.